we've had a lot of people come on talking about they're projecting different entities coming down to the planet right now to save, humanity. Is that something that you have had any recollection of happening in history or potentially happening now?
If you are concerned or even just interested in demons and astral entities, I have a master class that will illuminate that subject in ways that you have never heard before. In addition, I have developed and perfected a psychic shield meditation that is the most powerful meditation that you can do in terms of protecting your energetic body. It will be pinned in the comments below. Save humanity. Okay, well, save it from what? So I'm not really sure about saving. And there's certainly been advanced beings that keep showing up over and over again,
Mm.
which is where these advanced civilizations pop up out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there's this vast knowledge of uh, science, astrology, mathematics, and these advanced civilizations just keep popping up over and over again. And this is absolute. We'll use the word visitation from more advanced or evolved beings that keep doing that. Um, and sometimes those are ascended masters as well. But in terms of saving, uh, I don't know if I agree with that word and what it implies. I mean, we're going to create. Well, let me back up. Let me just say that destiny is always being written. It's being written moment to moment, and it's really a function of attention and intention. And so we've been hearing a lot about prophecy. The spiritual entertainment news networks are constantly promoting doom and gloom and beware and chaos and madness. I mean, essentially, the spiritual entertainment news networks have been making a massive mistake, and humanity is the one that's paying for it. And it's because we're putting our attention from a heightened states of emotionality onto a reality that we don't desire to manifest. So it's really been working backwards. And some could even say that the spiritual community, the way that it is operating, is actually the false light
Mm.
in making us put our attention from a heightened state of emotionality onto a reality that we don't desire to create under the guise of it's they're channeling the information, or it's been written, or it's prophecy. My direct experience is that there is no authentic guide or helper that ever speaks in terms of doom and gloom, ever. They don't see things in those ways. So if channelers or psychics are getting that kind of information, I would be very mindful of where they're getting their information from, how much of that information is being skewed by their own mindset, and therefore we can only see what it is that we're already projecting. I think we've been operating backwards, and I think the spiritual community is right there with the mainstream media. They have figured out that fear sells, and they figured out that what we put our attention on is actually what we create. And so, as you know, Kyle, I've been working in the opposite way,
Mm.
not just in this incarnation, but in every incarnation. I work in the opposite way about detachment and self empowerment and creating from the limitless I am, and not putting our attention, because where your attention goes, your energy flows, and only put your attention on what you want to grow. So by paying more and more attention to more and more doomsday predictions, we are creating a dystopian timeline that we don't wish to have under the guidance of spiritual information.
Mm. And, you know, for myself, I've found it puzzling to hear channelers with these doom and gloom messages. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about entities in general. Like, can these channelers actually have negative entities with them? And then, yeah, maybe just a little background on entities in general.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I might have said, I do a lot of talking, Kyle. I might have said in some interview that a lot of the psychics and mediums and channelers that are popular on the spiritual entertainment news networks, they have entities and they don't realize it.
Yeah.
They actually don't realize it. Okay. Now, let's back up 1 second and I'll answer your question. Channeling or any kind of psychic ability is a skill. It has nothing to do with wisdom. It has nothing to do with discernment. It's just a skill. That's like someone who's very adept at blowing glass. We would not say they're wise. We would just say they're skilled. Or someone who's really good at doing the hurdles, right? We would not say they're wise. We would say they're skilled. And we have conflated skills of channeling and psychic medium with wisdom, and they don't have anything to do with one another. And I think that's now becoming tangibly obvious to many people. Okay, so if we go back to entities, the first part of your question, let me give you an example of what I see when I unfortunately tune into maybe the shows that have had me on before. So an astral entity, okay, and if we know what astral entity, I'll give the briefest of the astral realm is the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh frequencies. They're not dimensions. We're not in the third dimension. We're in the third frequency of the first full dimension, which is where all the entire physical universe exists, within the first full dimension. And after the first full dimension, from a human perspective, there's no such thing as any tangibility or solidity. So energy exists in frequency. Energy does not exist in dimension. Dimensions house frequencies. We're in the third frequency, going into the fourth frequency. And the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh is the astral realm. Now, an astral entity is something that cannot sustain its own life force. It's like a parasite. It has to feed on other energies. And those entities that exist in the fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh feed on the energies of what is beneath them, if that makes sense. And so the more low frequency energy that we emanate, the more that we feed them. And now you can see why Hollywood and everything is always negative. Everything is always doom and gloom. Everything is always fear. Pornography is everywhere. It's because that way we just keep emitting these low frequency emotions. And that's actually the sustenance that's used by astral entities. Okay. So what I'll see with channelers or psychics or whatever you want to call them, they're getting information, and they are getting information. They absolutely are getting information. Some it's just their own imagination, but some of them are actually getting information. But what they can't differentiate is that an astral entity can very easily dress up in the astral form, because astral entities can read the mental body. They can flip through the Rolodex of your memories and pick out images, things that scare you, or things that you were very hungry to understand. And they can actually flip through your mind. They literally can, because they're operating in a higher frequency where they have access to what we call the mental body. So some of these astral entities will see who it is that you're desirous. Again, you're reaching outside of yourself, reaching outside to connect with grandma, grandpa, Archangel Michael, this, or the Pleiadians, pick something, it doesn't matter, right? So the very idea of reaching out is backwards. The self contains everything. Okay. So as they reach out, they're using your desire against you. Now, how they actually do this is they will find the image of what it is that you're looking for within your mind, and they can literally dress themselves up within the astral form of what it is that you're trying to reach out. And so then the psychic or the channeler then sees Archangel Michael or grandma, whatever, pick something, now sees it and like, oh my, I'm now talking to Archangel Michael. I'm now talking to my grandmother. Actually, you're not. What you're talking to is an astral entity that has cloaked itself in the astral form of who and what it is that you're trying to connect with. And now, because we don't have enough discernment and enough wisdom to actually question and see past just the visual, we just go with it and think that I connected with the Pleiadians. I've connected with my grandma. I've connected with Archangel Michael. You've connected with an astral entity that's fooling you. And that's where we get the doom and gloom fun. So that's one. And I've witnessed this and actually watched this. I've even, on occasion, I've explained it as someone was doing it, what's actually happening as they're channeling. Anytime we reach out, the idea of reaching out, by the way, is something we can talk about. That's backwards. But the idea of reaching out, anytime we do that, we are, myself included, we are putting ourselves in position to be used and abused by energies that we don't understand. And so from my perspective, and from every authentic master and mystic, they've never talked about make sure you can channel. They've never talked about reaching out. They've never talked about trying to contact your guides and helpers. They've never talked about that for a reason, ever. It's all about the I am and the inner guidance system. That's what it's about, using your own tuition. And then simply what I call Clark Kenting it, which is when Clark Kent pulls his business suit apart and then you see the Superman outfit. That's when we work and go within. What we're doing is we're pulling back the veil of personhood and tapping into more of the I am, which contains everything, which is a fractal of God. So when we're trying to reach out and connect and do all these kind of things, that's when the problem arises, because we don't have the discernment to really understand what's really going on.
Now, can channels be channeling while still going within? And how would you advise somebody like myself and Leah, who's trying to run a very, pure channel, to have the proper awareness to make sure that who we're having on isn't spreading, or taken over by some negative entity?
Well, the first dead giveaway is negativity,
Mm.
doom and gloom, chaos, madness, upheaval, destruction. There's no authentic guide or helper that ever speaks in that way, ever. Well, so that's how you know. So if they're giving you predictions of this and that, they don't really know what they're tapping into. Another thing that you have to be leery of is people's own thought patterns. They become an unclear channel because their own beliefs are getting in the way. So really what they're channeling is just a bigger version of what they most desire through their own beliefs. So when we actually tap in, it becomes quite neutral. There isn't a left or right. There isn't a good or bad. There isn't up or down. So that's part of how you know if someone is speaking in that way. The other thing is, Kyle, I would focus on prescriptive teachings. I would focus on what is applicable. I would focus on what can improve our day-to-day, moment-to-moment life. And if that includes time out, let me go into my room, put my headphones on, light my incense, and get my crystals. And I love incense and crystals. Right. So as I make fun of them, my house is like a crystal cave. But the point is that if we have to take time out, then I think we're not doing it correctly. So I don't even use the word spirituality or spiritual anymore, because it's been completely and utterly hijacked. I only speak in terms of metaphysics, or what is. So the ability to work with oneself optimally, that's actually the only thing that's worth anything. Because if it doesn't apply to your everyday, moment-to-moment life, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. And the stuff that's being taught about automatic writing and channeling and segment, how does that help you with your relationship with yourself and with your significant other, or your kids, or your neighbors? How does that even play into that? And this is what I mean about it being the false light. It should be actionable, tangible, immediate, and improve the quality of your life across the board. And if it doesn't, then it is strictly ego, mind, identity, or the false character reaching out for getting a bigger and more inflated version of itself.
Well, I would just say it seems like we're in this age, of the truth coming out. And
Yeah.
will this be a part of that? Where channelers, whether they're speaking, from that inner wisdom or not, or just anybody speaking from that inner wisdom, is it all going to get found out? I guess it's just kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I believe so. I think it's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's literally happening right now. Uh, Enough people are sick of watching someone else predict the future through channeling, through destruction of this and that. Just tired of it. It just doesn't even resonate anymore. So the real key about this, Kyle, is detachment. So you can think of it as observer. It's deeper than that, but you could think of it as being the observer. Because even if you know that you're the observer, that means that there's something observing the observer. So we're not quite there, but it's a step in the right direction. So when we detach from what's going on by being fully present. So when we're fully present, you could think of that as meditation. And the easiest way to do that is to simply pretend that you just arrived here, no past, no future. And now the program stops. And now you're present. Now, once we're present, the inner guidance system is on. And once the inner guidance system is on, truth will resonate. It'll be automatic. You will know. And that's actually how you do it. And remember, the truth doesn't require your participation. Lies do. So it's when we make this shift about being present instead of reaching out, the inner guidance system is on. We will know what to do, what not to do, when to do it, what to say, who to say it to, and how to say it. And that guidance is our own intuition, because the intuition is the I am speaking in pure energetics that gets translated by the mind into actions or into ideas rather than thought, which is past and future. So it's detachment, locking into the inner guidance system, which gives us discernment, and then the truth will resonate. And once we start to work in that way, and only in that way, because the finite mind cannot discern, it cannot discern intention. It's very easy to trick the finite mind. If it just makes logical sense, the mind gets pleased. It's like the mental masturbation. If it fits like a logic and linearity program, that's soothing to the mind, and the mind likes that. And it just says, that makes sense. But it doesn't understand the intention behind it. Soda looks good and tastes good, right? It's poison. But it sure looks good and tastes good, doesn't it? It's very pleasing, right? It's poison. Detachment, inner guidance system, discernment, truth will resonate. This is the future of humanity. As we start to take our attention away from realities that we don't wish to build, then we will then realize that we are writing destiny every single moment that we're here.